Welcome to Generally Speaking for Week 6, the post-game show. I'm your host, Angelo. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at NJ_Generals and follow our YouTube channel at USFL Today. We've also got an at USFL Today Twitter feed. Make sure you follow that as well. Set your notifications. Don't miss a show. Don't miss a tweet. Don't miss a post. We've always got something interesting to share with you regarding the USFL. Generals lose to the Gamblers in Memphis 16-10 in another game where you felt like they just continued to shoot themselves in the foot and give the game away. Before we get into the details of how this all played out, let's hear from Coach Mike Riley.
It was obviously very hard sledding for a long time. We had a couple of really nice plays right off the bat. We got a penalty that took us back, so we didn't convert. They got the ball, and we went back and forth there for minutes. So I won't forget the reason I'm going there. I won't forget this. Decided to go for it at midfield with 4th and 2. Probably a real bad decision, And considering how that game was played, it felt later on like a real bad decision because of that. Because nobody was doing great without good field position, and we just handed them good field position there. So that was a starting point for them, and then we didn't do much of anything for a long time, and then caught a little fire, made some plays, got a little bit of running going. Kyle started hitting some throws, and looked like football down the stretch a little bit, and something that we can build on. We've played some close games, and in that way, it's reminiscent of a year ago. But the other thing that is not is that we won those games a year ago, and we're not this year. So we just got to get a win, and then just keep in mind that our goal is to get in the playoffs. Whatever place that is, it doesn't really matter. We just want to get in the playoffs, but we have to get a win soon to do that.
Coach Riley pretty much hitting it on the head. Let's start with the penalties. They've been a problem for the Generals since last season, but last year the penalties were more of an annoyance. The team was able to overcome them. This year it seems like every single penalty hurts, and they seem to come up in big spots. Another thing that we said on the pregame show this week was that New Jersey was not going to get away with giving a short field defensively to the Gamblers offense like they got away with against the Stars, only giving up field goals last week. And they did pay for it a couple of different times throughout the game. We'll talk about that in our review. The Generals seemed to need a spark yesterday. Kyle Lauletta was the starter at QB, and he played the entire game, but the offense sputtered around for a good portion of yesterday's affair, and not once did we see the DeAndre Johnson spark inserted into the lineup. He was the number 2 QB on the depth chart, but if DeAndre was not well enough to go at all yesterday, why was he the number 2 QB? The offense doing the defense no favors, especially over the last few weeks. The other thing I did not understand was the end of game clock and timeout management, especially as the last couple of minutes of the game wore on. We'll talk about that as well. And finally, something to take note of is that this Generals defense has been stellar. Over the last 3 weeks, they've allowed only 3 offensive touchdowns, and the Generals are 0-3 in that stretch. Let's get into the details and highlights of this Generals 16-10 loss to the Gamblers, the loss dropping New Jersey to 2-4. They're 1 game behind Philadelphia, with the Stars holding the tiebreaker advantage on New Jersey, and the Generals are tied with Pittsburgh and Michigan at 2-4, having beaten both of those teams. New Jersey holds the edge right now for the second playoff spot in the North. The Gamblers win the toss and they defer, so New Jersey begins on their own 23-yard line. Another thing that has not gone well for the Generals this season is starting field position. They've had poor field position the last few weeks. It was really poor last week, and this week was not much better. So the Generals beginning on their own 23-yard line, and on the first play, a nice play action fake, a pass to Alonzo Moore, gain of 17. Lauletta looking very comfortable on that throw. Then on the very next play, he drops a pretty pass to Alonzo Moore again. This one for a big gain all the way to the Houston 30-yard line, but a flag wiped out that gain. Ineligible man downfield. The center was too far from the line, and the flag got thrown. It happened again later in the game, same guy. That snuffed out the early momentum for New Jersey as the Generals failed to convert another first down on the series. In comes Brock Miller to punt, and he boots it deep to pin the Gamblers back to their own 12-yard line where they begin their first drive. They went 3 and out, giving the Generals a chance to take advantage of good field position as Houston is forced to punt. And the Generals get just that, beginning at the 49-yard line after the kick return. But another flag pushes them back to the 29. So we're just 6 minutes into the game, and 2 big penalties have cost the Generals a lot of yardage. From the 29-yard line, the Generals begin working and get a first down with Darius carrying the ball. You like to see Coach Riley go right back to Darius Victor after last week, helping him to try to erase the memory of the 3 fumbles against the Stars. And we've already got under 8 minutes to go in the first. Clock going quickly in this game. The Generals are able to move 8 more yards and get to the 50-yard line where they're faced with a 4th and 2 situation. Still very early in the game, I anticipated that Coach Riley was going to elect to punt the ball and have Brock Miller pin the Gamblers back against their own end zone, but he did not. He decides to go for it, not hesitating, by the way. First big play of the game. Here we go.
Down to 2. Just got the snap off. It's Darius Victor, and he is stonewalled at midfield. Gamblers defense comes up on the winning end of that Generals gamble.
And Darius Victor stuffed by the Gamblers defense. Houston taking over at midfield. I do not agree with that decision so early in a scoreless game and the field position battle being what it was. And you heard Coach Mike Riley's post-game comments. He regrets the decision as well. The Gamblers now with a short field and 6:21 to go in the first. Go to work. This is a familiar spot for the New Jersey defense with a short field to defend. And they do force the Gamblers into a 3rd and 10, which Houston converts, throwing a pass to the tight end. And then another 3rd down, which they converted with another pass to the tight end. Same kind of play. So the Gamblers using the play fake to the tight end effectively to get to inside the 15-yard line. They get inside the 10-yard line to the 8, and it's another 3rd down, 3rd one of the drive. And this time the Gamblers go to their go-to guy, Mark Thompson.
On 3rd down, Thompson waiting, driving all the way in for the touchdown. The power of Mark Thompson shown again.
Thompson's 9th rushing TD of the season. The PAT is good by Nick Vogel, and Houston leads 7-0. 9-play drive, 50 yards, 4 minutes and 54 seconds chewed up by the Gamblers offense. And interestingly enough, 5 of the first 6 plays on this drive were passes. The key plays were the 2 3rd down conversions to the tight end. With 1:27 to go in the quarter, New Jersey takes over on their own 25-yard line, looking for an answer. Kyle Lauletta still in for QB. And as the quarter nears its end, the Generals, staring at a 3rd and 7, fail to convert. And that's where the quarter ends, with the Generals trailing 7-0. New Jersey 0 for 3 on 3rd down conversions in that first quarter, while Houston went 3 for 4. Second quarter begins with a Brock Miller punt, and he boots the Gamblers back to their 24-yard line. And as the trend has been thus far, they face a 3rd down, which Thompson converted, and then a 3rd and 7 turns into a 3rd and 2 after the Generals jumped off sides, shortening that down and distance for the Gamblers, and they convert that one again with another pass to the tight end, Sig. New Jersey can't get a 3rd down stop, and we've still got 11 minutes to go until the half. An incomplete pass and a short run by Thompson sets up another 3rd and 7. It seemed like the Gamblers had 3rd and 7s all day long, but on this one, the Generals managed to stop the Gamblers shy of the line to gain So Houston has to punt to New Jersey, where the Generals begin on their own 12-yard line. They're trailing 7-0, and we're midway through the second quarter. On the first play, Kyle Lauletta is sacked by Isaiah Chambers, our Gamblers guest on the pregame show this week. And New Jersey just not off to a good start at all, not looking good offensively. After an incompletion, New Jersey with a 3rd and 17, tough situation on Lauletta in the end zone looking for a receiver. The pocket collapses around him, so he takes off and actually manages to get the first down, diving at the end for the last couple of yards. Terrific individual effort by Lauletta using his legs to gain 18 yards and move the chains. But that is where the drive stopped, as the Generals could not advance further. So they call on Brock Miller again for his 3rd punt of the half, which Gamblers' Justin Hall had a nice return to inside the New Jersey 40-yard line with 4:29 remaining. Gamblers in good field position. Total offensive yards to this point of the game, the Generals with 60 and the Gamblers with 79, but it felt like the Gamblers had like 179 yards of offense at this stage of the game. They managed to gain a first down, and then facing a 3rd and 5 with 2.5 minutes to go at the Generals 20, Bahar throws incomplete to Hall, and on comes the field goal unit for Houston, and Nick Vogel hits a 38-yarder. So the Generals defense holds, keeps the Gamblers offense out of the end zone. It's 10-0 Houston with 2 minutes and 17 seconds until the halftime break. That was a 6-play drive, 19 yards, 2 minutes and 12 seconds off the clock. The Generals receive the kickoff and begin their drive at their own 30-yard line, and Lauletta completes a short pass to Bowman. First time we've seen the tight ends utilized today. No sign of DeAndre Johnson at the 2-minute warning. After that 2-minute warning, New Jersey facing a 3rd and 2. They've still got 3 timeouts, so they hand the ball off to Williams, and he converts. We're at 1:22 remaining now, and the Generals are at midfield. It's 2nd and 5, and Lauletta drops back to throw.
On 2nd and 5. Lauletta towards the sideline. It's intercepted. Picked off by Jeremiah Johnson, and the Gamblers have been close. They finally cash in.
Jeremiah Johnson of the Gamblers stepping in front of the pass. It was thrown late. He jumped the route, returned it to the New Jersey 42-yard line, setting the Gamblers up with yet another short field, and the clock dwindling down to the half. On the first play, Bahar took a shot at the end zone, and New Jersey almost picked it off. Should have been intercepted, but it fell harmlessly to the ground with 49 seconds until the break. Houston let the clock run here. I'm not sure why they wasted a bunch of time with 2 timeouts in their back pocket, but they ended up in a similar situation to what the Michigan Panthers did before their halftime the other night, which was scrambling around, running a play, letting the clock run down, and not getting the field goal unit onto the field in time to try the attempt. The Gamblers, however, did manage to call a timeout with 2 seconds left. It looked like they had blown it, but a review by the booth showed that the tackle happened with time still on the clock, and the Gamblers called that last timeout to send out Vogel to kick a field goal at the half. The 36-yarder was good, 13-0 Houston, and that is how the first half ended. Gamblers getting the ball to start the second half. New Jersey possessions in the first half, this is how things went. Punt, turnover on downs, punt, and that costly interception right before the break. That interception was bad because it gave the Gamblers 3 free points on a day when points were at a premium. Looking at the halftime statistics, time of possession, Houston with nearly 17 minutes of possession, 16:54 to 13:06 for New Jersey. Each team had the ball 5 times. Total yardage, 122 for the Gamblers and 82 for New Jersey. The Gamblers with the 1 red zone touchdown out of 2 red zone visits, where the Generals, on the other hand, did not visit the red zone at all in the first half. 88 passing yards for the Gamblers in the first half, only 26 for New Jersey, as Lauletta went 4 for 12 in those first 2 quarters. From a rushing standpoint, the Generals with 56 halftime rushing yards, 34 for Houston. Both teams rushing the ball 11 times in that first half. And turnover game, 1 interception thrown by the Generals, no turnovers for the Gamblers. And that is the extra difference, those 3 points so far in the first half. Third quarter, Houston takes the kickoff all the way back to their 40-yard line. Good field position yet again. And guess what? Faced with a 3rd and 3 from the 47-yard line, Houston converts this time because of a pass interference on New Jersey. It looked like they had them stopped, but the flag came in and it was a penalty upon further review. So now the Gamblers have a first down at the New Jersey 48. Houston did a great job of utilizing the wide receiver screen yesterday with Justin Hall. They used it at least 4 or 5 times that I can think of, and the Generals did not have an answer for that play. The drive moves along now, and the Gamblers staring at a 3rd and 5, already the 11th third down attempt for Houston. They converted this one on a short completion to Ratliff Williams to the New Jersey 36. Thompson runs for 8 more. And then another screen to Hall for a first down to the 25. And now we've got 10 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Very methodical drive by the Gamblers as they eat up clock and they start to churn out some yards. They're facing a 3rd and 9 from the 24, and they gain 8 yards. So the Generals do stop them from converting that first down, leaving the Gamblers with a decision here. Do you go for it on 4th and 1, leading 13-0, or do you kick the field goal? The answer is you kick the field goal, and out comes Nick Vogel. He snuck this one in to put 3 more points on the board for the Gamblers. And after a 12-play, 43-yard drive, which chewed up the first 7 minutes and 31 seconds of the third quarter, the Gamblers take a 16-0 lead. Last year in the game against Houston, the Generals held the ball for the entire third quarter, which is something I've never seen before, but it happened. So 16-0 Gamblers. Generals offense needing a spark, but no sign of DeAndre Johnson. They stick with Kyle Lauletta. Generals beginning this next drive from their own 35, and Darius Victor gains 8 yards on 2 carries, and then on 3rd and 2, Lauletta connects on a play-action pass to tight end Woody Brandom to get the Generals into Houston territory. It feels like almost like the first time they've been into Houston territory. But on the very next play, Lauletta is sacked right back to the New Jersey side of the field. So now we've got 4 minutes to go in the third. It's 3rd and 12 for New Jersey. Lauletta connects with Jamon Moore for the first down. Nice play by the quarterback to sidestep the rush and zip the ball in there. At the 32-yard line of Houston, after only gaining a couple of yards, it's 3rd down from the 30. Lauletta finds Warren Newman with a leaping grab to the 19-yard line. Nice to see Newman getting involved in the offense. Minute 34 to go. First red zone trip for the Generals, and they promptly lose 7 yards on first down, gain no yards on second down. So it's another 3rd and long with just 27 ticks until the end of the third quarter. The quarter ends with the Generals facing a 4th down decision, trailing 16-0 and 15 minutes to go. Instead of going for it down by 16 points, Riley sends out kicker Nick Skiba to start the fourth quarter with a 35-yard field goal attempt, and Skiba nails it, staying perfect on the season. It's 16-3 Houston, 13-play drive, 48 yards, 7 minutes and 34 seconds off the clock, and the Generals at least on the board now. Both teams only getting the ball 1 time in the third quarter. Generals kicking it off to Houston, who starts at around their own 30-yard line with 14:47 to go. And bad news for New Jersey at this point defensively. Shalom Luani out with a knee injury. Chris Orr out with a bicep injury. 2 key parts of the Generals' defense done for the day. Gamblers gained 2 first downs, beginning to run the clock. We're now under 10.5 minutes, and it's 3rd and 11 at the New Jersey 45-yard line. Generals stand firm on defense, forcing Houston to punt 1 more time, and they down the ball on the New Jersey 4. 9 minutes, 29 seconds to go. So the Generals have a long field ahead of them here. If they're going to make anything happen, it has to happen quick. First play, Jamon Moore gains a quick first down with a reception to the 20-yard line. The Generals were still in a huddle at this point and not hurrying up at all, and I really did not like that. The clock was churning away here. 3rd and 4, they convert a pass and keep the sticks moving, but still now on their own 31, and we're already at the 7-minute mark. They convert another 3rd down and start to hustle a bit as the 5.5-minute mark hits. They're on the Houston 40, and Lauletta connects again, this time to the 25-yard line. Lauletta finally takes a shot at the end zone and connects with Cam Eccles Looper for a touchdown, but it gets wiped off because of a penalty. Ineligible man downfield. It was the center again. That's 2 for him today. So undaunted, Kyle Lauletta goes right back to the air. He hits Newman with a nice grab inside the 10-yard line. We've got 3:23 to go in the game. And on the very next play, disaster almost strikes as Lauletta and Darius Victor muff a handoff. This has been happening too much this year. Luckily, New Jersey falls on the ball and does maintain possession, but the clock is running. The drive is up to 13 plays and 88 yards. Remember, it started back on the 4-yard line. So facing a 3rd and goal from the 7, Lauletta drops back the pass, looking for a crossing. Alonzo Moore.
Ready, go! On 3rd and goal, Lauletta, under some late pressure, finds the open man, and Alonzo Moore will take it in for the Generals' touchdown.
Touchdown, New Jersey. The PAT is good. It was a 14-play drive that covered 96 yards, the Generals' best drive of the season. And with 3:04 remaining, New Jersey trails 16-10, and they're in this thing. Time to decide whether to go for the onside kick or try the 4th and 12 to maintain possession. And the Generals do decide to go for the 4th and 12, lining up from the 33-yard line. But then they had to burn a timeout on an untimed play that's just completely unacceptable. Bad preparation by New Jersey to not be ready to get the called play off, wasting a timeout and changing the entire strategy for the last couple minutes of this game, making this 4th and 12 conversion key where the ball game is going to be over. And they do fail to convert. Jamon Moore cannot hang on to the pass. It was in his hands. It hit his hands. But Houston takes over, and New Jersey now with just one timeout to work with and the 2-minute warning could not stop the Gamblers. So many mistakes today. Houston able to gain the first down that they needed. Generals could not stop the clock more than one more time. And that's how the game finishes, with Houston winning 16-10. 3rd straight loss for the Generals. They dropped to 2-4, tied for 2nd place with Michigan and Pittsburgh, while Houston wins their 4th in a row to move to 4-2 and forging a 3-way tie in the South for 1st place with New Orleans, who lost, and the Birmingham Stallions. Let's get a check of the final statistics of this disappointing 16-10 loss for the New Jersey Generals, losing to the Houston Gamblers. Time of possession went the Gamblers' way, almost 33 minutes to 27 for the Generals. Each team had the ball 8 times. Not a lot of possessions in the second half, as longer drives became the theme for the last 30 minutes of the game. Total plays, 54 for Houston, 51 for New Jersey. Total yards, the Generals actually outgained the Gamblers on this day, 231 to 211. The Generals 1 for 2 on their red zone attempts, scoring a single touchdown. The Gamblers 1 for 4 on their red zone attempts, scoring a touchdown and then booting 3 field goals. Passing yards, 162 for Kyle Lauletta, 130 for Kenji Bahar. Passing attempts, 30 for the Generals, 29 for the Gamblers. So both teams pretty much with the same amount of plays and pretty much the same balance between running and passing yesterday. Rushing yards, 69 total yards for the Generals. That's not going to get it done. 81 for the Gamblers. So again, good job by the New Jersey defense to keep that Gamblers offense stifled for all of the afternoon. They bring a lot of weapons, and for them to only be able to score 16 points after averaging like 31, 32 over the last month or so, that's a tip of the cap to the New Jersey defense. Total turnovers, 1 for New Jersey. It was costly because it gave the Gamblers 3 free points right before the break. As far as individual statistics go, Kyle Lauletta, 17 for 30, 177 yards passing. He had the pass interception and the touchdown pass. Darius Victor, 10 carries for 38 yards. Trey Williams, only 4 touches for 14 yards. Disappointing that we're not seeing more Trey Williams in this offense. The Generals just lacking creativity in their offensive play calls. They're not doing the kinds of things that worked for them last year, which was putting guys in motion, running reverses, couple of trick plays, things to keep the defense on their heels. It feels like the loss of Cavante Turpin has hurt the Generals from a execution standpoint on the field, but I feel like it's hurt them from a play calling standpoint off the field because it's like, well, we don't have that weapon anymore. Let's not be creative. So over these last 4 weeks, this is what I would love to see out of the Generals. Number one, make the commitment to DeAndre Johnson and leave the man in there to play quarterback. This offense is more dynamic with him in there. There's no way around that. The other thing I would like to see is the play calls to clean up a little bit. Start making more sound decisions at key plays of the game and not giving away freebies to the opposition by bad decision making. It's tough to pick a player of the game for the Generals for this week, at least on offense. So we're going to give the player of the game to the defensive side this week, and that's going to be DeJuan Hines. The guy was all over the place again. He had 8 tackles, and you heard his name multiple times. You could have thrown Paris Ford in there for a candidate as well. As he had 7 tackles yesterday. The guy has really upped his game over the last 3 weeks. Looking ahead now for the Generals as they stumble into this last month of the season coming up, they face the equally stumbling Michigan Panthers on Sunday in Canton, Ohio, with the loser of that game pretty much finding themselves eliminated from this playoff race. So this is already a must-win situation for the Generals heading into week 7. A year ago, the Generals were wrapping up their playoff berth and clinching their spot for the North Division Championship game. What a difference a year makes, huh? That wraps it up for this week's edition of Generally Speaking. Special thanks, of course, goes out to Fox and the USFL for use of their highlights. And we will be back next week, 9 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio, New Jersey, 93.5 FM, 1450 AM, with the Generals pregame show, getting you ready for the must-win Panthers at Generals game in Canton. But that's it for this week. Again, I'm your host, Angelo Fioris. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week, Generals fans.